So I was driving along the road the other day, and yeah, I mean, there were those things that I don't know what they're called. I'm already off to a great start. I've already forgot what I was. Yeah. So I was driving down the road, and those things. I think they're dandelions, but basically they were those things that if you remember as a kid, you would run around, and if you saw them, you'd try to chase them, and you'd grab them. And when you grab them, you whisper a little bit of life into that sucker. You'd have a secret or something, or maybe you'd have a wish, and you'd bring it up. You'd have it cupped in your hands. And what you do is you bring it up to your mouth, and you'd whisper your little bit of a secret into it. Then you'd open your hand like you're about to let a dove go, and you blow it out. Then you see it fly off into the air. So basically the other day, I was walking with a friend, and I saw one, and I grabbed it, the little wish, and I let it go. But then when I was driving, they were just everywhere. And I don't know what it is about, maybe this happens quite often, maybe it doesn't happen that often. But, just imagine if everyone in the world who saw those things thought the same that I did, because maybe I was the only one who used to do that. But like, it was just kind of an idea when I was thinking about it, and when I saw it, I kind of used it as an analogy, or I kind of saw it as a metaphor for, with all these new incoming students to the university. It's all the wishes that their family kind of have for them, with this new incoming thing. That's just that we can tangibly see the wishes that other people have for them. For example, I wouldn't be where I was without the support that I have from so many different people, and a lot of you listeners are the support that I have. But I don't get to see that often, right? So like, I just kind of get put in this place, and I guess it's from years and years of people supporting me and building that sort of stuff up. But we kind of get to a point where all that stuff kind of sits within us rather than actually being something tangible. So what I'm trying to say here is it was beautiful to see, maybe it wasn't, but there are a whole bunch of people who have wishes, who have dreams, who have a lot of things that they've put a lot of time and effort into and thought into, and it's just out there in the world, and no one knows that it's happening. So I saw those dandelions, and it kind of reminded me that, people are thinking about us. And there are people out there who want us to do better than we want for ourselves. And I know that's really dark to start with, but that's just exactly where I think we need to go with this part 4. We've had the first 3 parts of the series talking about, trying to build better habits and trying to have a bit more of a self-compassionate approach to everything that we do. Now this one's going to tie it all in and just show you how we can take care of ourselves, because we know that everyone else is going to be caring for us. We know that we're going to have everyone else who kind of in the stands, shouting for us the loudest. But now it's on us to actually be able to hear those words and be able to take it inside of us. And I'm only saying that because I know that that's where I'm at. I choose what comes in, and unfortunately, I definitely am in a place where I have been so hurt before that I choose to put up a wall to the good that could come in. But anyway, so that's the dandelions. And just off the bat, I remember going to get some food, and I'm just switching gears here a little bit, and I was going to get some food. And the reason why I wanted to bring this one up is just more out of curiosity, because, we were getting food, and I saw this person, stand up with the food, and they stacked all their plates after they finished, and they took it back to the kitchen. And, that's, I've seen that before. I used to do that all the time. Like, if you're with me, if we happen to go out and we get some food together, you'll see I'm the type of guy. I'll finish my food, I'll finish my drink, whatever it is, and I'll stack it. Whoever's there, I'll stack it all up there. It's almost like I should be employed. Maybe I should start putting in some time slips and stuff. But I remember once when I had done that, someone had told me, there's people who are paid to do that. And I understand that. I understand that there are people, and this is part of their job. But, if we are in a position to be able to help whatever way possible, shouldn't we just do that? Or are we crippling some sort of economy in terms of the help that we can give to other people? I'm not too sure. Where do you stand on that? Let me know, because I am one who will definitely take the smallest amount of effort, like literally just a fingernail of effort, to try and help someone else to make their day better. Because we don't know the cascading effects that could come after that, They might have been having a bad day. I don't want to go through all of the stories and try to, put theoretical scenarios in everywhere. But, what if that was that small little chunk or that small little spark in someone's day, just to let them know that someone is thinking about them? You never know, man. You never know. And I want to be there. I want to be part of that. That's why I continue to podcast every week, even though things get really tough and I feel like I don't want to podcast sometimes. I feel like I don't want to have to come on and share my thoughts a lot of the time. You probably hear it in my voice right now. I don't have the same energy. I kind of sound like I'm about 66 years old, which is 12 years older than I actually am. And it's because it's been a long week. It's been a long couple of weeks, and there's been a lot that has gone on. But then at the same time, if I can give you that something that takes you to that next level, then I'm here for that. I am definitely here for that. And I'll tell you what I'm not here for. I'm not here for the show The Bachelor or The Bachelorette. So my flat watch it, and I'm not too sure if you are a frequent watcher yourself. But what it is it's a TV show, and basically they either have they have a lead person. And that person, all of these contestants kind of come on and they do different challenges, I think, or I only watch it sometimes. I don't watch it all the time. And literally sometimes it's maybe like very, very minimal when I'm going through to do my washing and I come back and I see that it's on the TV. And there was this weird point because there's a bunch of contestants, and what they're trying to do is they're trying to, I think it's knockout rounds per week or something, and they're trying to get that last person to end up, being together. So we have a New Zealand edition of that. And I had this weird, I don't know what it was. It might have been a mixture of like exhaustion and a whole bunch of other things. But we got to this point where I think it was like the last couple of people, and they were going on dates. And basically, they just had the really, really good connection with this other person. And they were off. But then because part of the contract, obviously, they're trying to find the best fit for this person. When I saw one of the guys, have a really, really cool date with her, and then he had to go off and then know that she was going to go on a date with another person. It's part of the game, and obviously if you have open comms, then everything should be fine and you agree to that. But I think it's something in me felt like, man, if I was in that position, I would get 100% jealous. Just jealousy, and jealousy makes you do some silly stuff. But not that I'm in this position, but then it just made me think, and I haven't been able to unpack it yet. But I thought I'd just yell it out now because maybe someone else has been through something similar. But I don't know. It's that connection that you have with someone else, and to know that connection is being shared with someone else. Maybe I don't know if that's jealousy. I don't know what that is. But if anyone has kind of had a experience with that, please let me know. And this was me watching it through TV, so I don't even know where I'm at right now. But we are here, and it's bloody good to be here. And speaking of being here, we're going to take it back to a bit more familiarity with the music that we're listening to. So if you remember, one of my first time kind of people moving away from the music that we always use for the intro, we had a lovely woman by the name of Jenny Mitchell. Now, Jenny Mitchell has been on tour with her sisters, who happen to be twins, and they've done some really, really cool stuff up in the North Island, but then also coming down the South Island as well. So if you can, check them out. Jenny Mitchell Music on Instagram, but she also has a Facebook page so that you can get her live dates. This is still one of my favorite songs from all of the songs that she has done, and this is the live version. I do prefer the live version, and we'll talk a little bit more about that, but I just think some of the lyrics in this song definitely kind of bring where we are today with this episode. So to get this started, 8 minutes into the episode, Jenny Mitchell will take us. Let's go, girl. This makes me feel like everything's alright.
I was born one of three, two baby sisters and me. They're so alike, so unique. I was born one of three. I've always been taught to dream,
Damn, them
just
hopes and
enough
dreams.
to make my heart crazy.
Oh yeah.
But I stand on this ground firmly with 2 feet, thanks to the good souls that surround me.
And that's all of you listening right now.
Sometimes the prettiest hearts are concrete, and they'll hurt your soul a lot. Sometimes smokers die young, and sometimes they do not. You can feel so lost and know exactly where you are, and that's what I've learned so far.
So that was Jenny Mitchell and her twin sisters who she went on tour with, and that is the song So Far. And that's the version that is live. So if we go back to the interview that I had with Jenny Mitchell, I talked to her about the live studio kind of thing that she did, where they recorded that, and it's basically they're just singing as if they would on tour. So if you get to hear that on tour live, you're in for a treat. You know, the harmonies, everything just works in well together. We talk about the touring process on that interview, so go check that out if you haven't already. But there's so many different parts to pick out of that song, and I think the lyrics that hit me the most is definitely the good souls that surround me. I think too often, especially with me and the way that I am, with my defense mechanisms that I have to try to keep me safe, or that I think I'm trying to do to keep me safe, I don't recognize that I do have such a good support system around me. So that's the first one, is just, being able to acknowledge that we have good souls that are part of your life, and they're not in your life to help progress their life, but they're there to be part of your joining of that nexus between the two of you. There's a Venn diagram of who they are and who you are, and they're the types of people who will look for all of the commonalities in between, where they can actually help to grow and nurture such a good relationship between you. And I guess another one that's really hitting me a little bit more, the lyrics wise, is just, just you can know where you are, you can feel so lost, but know exactly where you are. And that has so many different meanings that it could have. But I think the biggest one is that I look around and I see familiarity and everything, but I just feel like I'm not grounded. A lot of the time I feel like I am, how do I feel? I feel like everything kind of is happening around me, and even though I can spot where I am, I can look down and I can see where my feet are, and I can be so familiar with the smells, with everything else, I feel like my heart isn't there. I feel like I'm living in my brain, but I'm not actually in my body. I feel like I'm disconnected from what my soul wants. And that's getting into what we're going to be talking about today. And it's something that I think for me is going to be one of the hardest ones to put together, because it's the first three. We talked about being self-compassionate about everything that you're doing, and just being able to do things for the right reasons. Being able to feel those feelings that we have, which I've done today, and also just making sure that if we are going to get into some sort of habit, we're doing it for the right reasons. We're choosing the sustainable options when it comes to doing all of that. And I guess why this one is difficult is because I'm reaching in a little bit more to me and kind of expressing that a little bit. So obviously, all of my times that I go and see my therapist, a lot of that is very confidential, but there are a lot of it that I do need to share because I know they're applicable to other things. So I'm not going to get into the details of why it is that I do what I do or the things that was particularly shared, but I will talk about the overall kind of concepts that we cover. And this one's all about nurturing that inner child. So that's kind of a metaphor or an analogy we've come up with together because we need to feed our overall well-being. So I guess just from my upbringing and a lot of the things that I've kind of had to go through, I felt like a lot of it I was on my own. And because of where my brain is and because of who I am as a person and kind of the things that I try to get through, a lot of it, I don't care for myself. So what would be great today is if we can't get that self-compassion, or if we can't find those different habits, or if we can't actually listen to what everyone else is trying to say to us, and we know that it kind of comes to you, the locus of control needs to be within you to be able to push yourself to actually accept everything that's going on. So creating this inner child kind of creates someone who you are. And I guess, I was never really comfortable with who I was as a child. And I guess, that because I kind of put that person to the side and started creating someone else to try get through that, it's a mechanism to try and defend myself, that those needs of that person kind of haven't been met yet. But now that we're talking about it, we don't necessarily have to think about this in terms of, you're a neglected child or something like that, but considering yourself, thinking about yourself as like a separate entity, even though it is you. And in that way, maybe because you're treating someone else, because we're the best. People like us, people who, everyone's listening to this, people like us, we can give and give and give. It doesn't even matter. You need $5. I've only got $4 in my bank, but I'll go work a job to try get that extra dollar. I'll go hustle, I'll go roll some dice. And you'll try to give that to people. That's the type of people we are. That's why we love this podcast. That's why we come here, is because we know that we all go through the same struggles. And it's a struggle that we will never be good enough. That's the first one. And two is that we will never feel like we're good enough because we feel like we give everything to everyone else, that we never really have the resources for us to grow. And I guess the first thing I need to touch on here before we move on is when I talk about feeding our overall well-being, I talk about everything. Your physical, mental, spiritual, and social. And the reason I need to bring this up is because I've talked about this a lot, but I can't separate the mental from everything else. There's so many different people who, they want to build mental health, or they want to know what people are doing for their mental health. And I don't know what that means. Firstly, the first one is, I remember I was at a mental health summit and we had to define what mental health was to us. No one fucking knows what mental health is. I mean, I guess there are some people, but the terminology, I guess, around it is, I remember when we were kids, we used to call people mental if they were weird, or like if they were kind of out of it. So mental was kind of like not this thing that we see as something that controls your emotions or controls everything else within you, but we saw mental as like you've got a disability or something like that. So that's the first one, and I think this one will come into why stigmas are created. But the other one is just that, like, mental health it takes over your body. It takes over everything else. So if you're having issues with how you think about different things, your physical is probably not going to want to work for you, right? Your body will feel lethargic and you won't want to move too much. It can actually get you to the point where you're debilitated and you don't want to move. That will then impact on your social because you can't move, you start to feel like, oh, yeah, I can't go see these different people, or these people don't even want to see me because of all these different things, like because I have this idea of what other people think about me. That's all interconnected. We don't know which one came first, but all of them kind of interplay with one another. So when people only focus on mental health, I don't know why, but it really gets me going when people really want to focus on mental health, because I guess those are people who grew up very Western, but we never took the mind away from the soul. And I guess what I'm talking about here is we're working with the heart here. And we're not just working with the brain, we're working with the whole heart. And that heart is what controls you. And we're here for that. And that's what we're here for. So I just wanted to talk about that when we talk about overall well-being, because I think focusing on mental health is a very narrow and skewed way of talking about overall well-being when it comes to dealing with people, because people are not just brains. And that's why I was trying to talk about in the earlier segment of this episode was talking about being disconnected from that entire body. So feeling so lost, even though we know exactly where we are. And a lot of that is because our head is not actually connected to our body. So it's being able to find the connection between that all. So we are nurturing our inner child, and that's being able to bring all the different episodes together. So the first one, I think it needs to be you being able to care for yourself, and it's not giving into other people. So this is actually something that happened earlier this week, and I'm sorry that I sound so fired up. It might be because I had coffee before, or it might be because this is all stuff that I'm still trying to work through. So if you can hear it in my voice, I'm on that like 3/4, urge where if someone was to ask me, how are you right now? And I said, yeah, good. And then they're like, nah, like, are you okay? It might change. I might get that, yeah, good. And then, my eyes might start to water up because someone's making lasagna. So that's where I'm at right now, but I think this was a really good chance to be able to come in and be able to do this for you. But I just feel like this week I've started to see where I sit with different people. I've started to see that I'm part of a huge machine that doesn't really care about who we are. I think I'm starting to see that a lot of people see me for the resources that I can provide, as opposed to seeing me as a person who's got a lot that they're dealing with as well. And I'm not mad at that so whatsoever, because everyone has their own stuff going on, and I shouldn't just expect other people to know that things are a lot harder for me than they seem. But I guess, this is just the first reminder that we don't owe many people many things. And I guess the first one is just knowing who can access your time. So what happened was, someone was, just pretty much called me out for being online and not replying to them. And I just felt like, if they're so busy watching what I'm doing and they're like, oh, you're posting stories and you're not replying to me and you said you would. The thing is, like, that was my away times. For me to go on social media and be able to scroll and just look at funny videos or look at people getting bumped off on rugby videos, that's my time. That's me. Like, every single day that I walk into this office, every single day that I'm dealing with different things, I'm navigating crucial conversations all the time. I'm figuring out how I can fit my energy into other people's energy. And I'm having to do that all the time, like constantly. And the last thing I want to do is, like, I have to give resource to be able to reply to different people, to be able to have those conversations. I actually have to engage with you. Whereas if I'm just scrolling, I'm mindless, I'm not thinking about anything, I'm just enjoying my time. So whether I'm online or not, it doesn't matter. And I remember that I used to be like that. So I'm not just going at this person, but I remember I used to be like that. I used to remember whether people would get back to me or not. And I used to remember, I used to be like, oh man, why is this person not getting back to me? They must not care. And I build up this whole story. And the first one is just being able to put yourself in that person's position and just knowing, okay, he's in a new full-time job, he's got children, there's a bunch of things that could be going on, and your phone is not your priority. If it really did matter, maybe you'd give them a call. If it really did matter, maybe you'd pay them a visit. But I remember, if I wasn't getting a reply from that person, and I would feel so gutted that person, maybe didn't want to talk to me. What did I do? Oh gosh, have I ruined things? But then at the same time, I also had to remember that I was not replying to different people. I gave that same treatment to other people. So I went for ages just like ignoring my mum and not replying to her because I didn't know how to reply to her. So that's just a whole bunch of things there. Now it's on us. How is it that we decide to use that energy is on us. So the reason I bring that up is because we need to navigate those spaces, and we need to know that it is okay to say no, and it's okay to say that, to either leave it and just say, like, I will reply when I'm actually in a better state. Because if we're not ready to take something on, especially if it's going to be really, really heavy, we end up giving something that we will not be proud of. Or we end up giving something that we know in the future will just kind of cause a bit more confusion, or it'll just be something that when we look back, we're just like, gosh, I really just kind of screwed that one a little bit because I was so anxious about it, or I was so angry. So that's kind of the first thing that I want to do, and that's kind of you nurturing that person inside you. That inner child wants to get out. That inner child kind of wants a little bit of attention and wants to get mad. So my inner child, the types of things that I needed to start working on was knowing when I would start to get mad. Why is it that I'm getting mad? Why does this child want all the attention, and why are they trying to throw a tantrum? And it's those sorts of things there. When I start to feel like other people are controlling my time, that's when I get very, very anxious because I'm starting to lose control. Now, the thing that I do want to talk about here, though, is that sometimes spontaneity is actually really, really cool. Really, 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 really cool. So just moving on a little bit, when we think about trying to nurture that inner child, sometimes they just want to adventure. Sometimes they just want to go off and do other things with other people. And when I think about how I used to be and how I never used to like letting people into my life, a lot of that was because I was starting to lose that little bit of control. But the thing is, you can still control where you end up. And you can also control how you fit within those different scenarios. What you can't control is what other people expect of you, and what you can't control is how other people perceive you. But you can always just focus on where you are in those different moments. And that's why we focus on being in the moment and being able to feel your feelings. The more that you can do that and more that you can be in touch with yourself, the better you can kind of, move around in different spaces with different people. So it's actually quite weird that the better you are with yourself, the better you are able to manipulate the kind of surroundings around you. So that includes different people, different environments, and all that sort of stuff, and being able to feel comfortable in those spaces. So just being social a bit more. I've started playing rugby again. I've started hanging out with a little bit more people with my research. I'm starting to meet new groups of people and starting to do a little bit more research in fields that kind of are a bit further away from what I'm used to, but they're actually helping me meet new people, network well, and learn a whole bunch of new things, and it's so exciting. But at the same time, I'm hanging out with people who are making me laugh, and when was the last time I had a good laugh? Probably with my brother. My brother and my sister I laugh like heaps with. And there's something about being able to laugh that makes you feel like you're not on this world anymore. You're like in a different planet. It's like when someone can make you laugh, you forget that you're a human for a second. When someone makes you laugh, you actually feel like, all the worries that you've ever had are just gone. It's almost one of the best feelings we could possibly have. Obviously, you wouldn't want to do it all the time where you just end up with hiccups. But I'm hanging out with people more who can make me laugh. And we don't necessarily have to solve the problems of the world, but we're just solving each other's worldly problems by just getting together and laughing. And whether that be reminiscing on different stories that we've had or just, inside jokes, because we understand one another so much. And I think that's why I love comedians so much. So I'm a huge fan of a lot of comedians, and I think it's because they're super clever and super intelligent. And then when I do laugh, like I said, it's the one time per day that I forget that I'm a human. Now that sounds really weird, but I don't know. You've probably had that type of thing before where you've just laughed so hard that you're just like, oh my gosh, it's man. And then probably next to that would be eating some really, really good food. But it's just being able to be with people who lift you up and want to see you win. So if you've gone and listened to Tunga's episode, that's exactly what he talked about with the men's group that he started, and with our episode next week, talking about well-being overall with a pretty well-known celebrity / All Black / Hurricane who just played his 100th game for the Hurricanes. So if you figure out who that is, next Monday he will be coming out onto the podcast. But anyway, that's that one. And I think a huge one, so on top of being able to be more social, I think overall the theme is communication. So being able to nurture that in a child actually comes from communication. And I think the first one that I talked about last week was the communication with your body. So actually going through movements that help you communicate with your body and being able to feel where you are in the present, and being able to feel what your body's doing, being able to feel the tactile forces. So when your foot hits the ground, what does it do to the rest of your body? And you can think about that with your feelings. When this happens, what emotion do I feel? When I feel that emotion, what does it do to my body? How am I going to react? Do I even react? And that's exactly what we should be feeling when we're going through our communication with our body. So that's the first one, with movement. And like I said before, I've been starting to get into a little bit more rugby. So we've had preseason training at the moment. I don't want to talk too much about it because I don't know how much time I can commit to it, but I do, the season's starting off awesome, and I'm really enjoying just the camaraderie and just being able to be with other people who, don't know who I am and don't want anything from me. They just, if I do my job as the position that I'm playing, everyone's happy. And that's all they need from me. And it's great. And it's kind of changed the way that I view training. And even though I did an entire episode about moving for the right reasons, when I am training now, I'm thinking about being fit for purpose. I'm not thinking about what my body's going to look like. I'm not thinking about trying to get these muscles as big as possible. I'm not trying to get that thick ass, even though I would love that thick ass with quadruple C's. Yeah, actually, no, I still want to get thick ass, but besides the point. It's all about, for my position, I need to be strong, fast, quick, all these different things. And when I'm training now, I'm thinking about those sorts of things. How is this training going to transfer into everything else that I'm doing? And I'm feeling it out because I know that I have a purpose with my movement. When I do train, this is how I'm going to move. So I'm communicating with my body. I'm communicating everything together. Like everything is kind of sinking in. I have that purpose. I know why it is that I'm moving now. And it's kind of changed that mentality that I have when I do go to train now. And that gives me way more zest to go train because I know that there is a reason for me doing that. So it's reconnecting with that purpose. And I guess another thing that kind of comes into that is the whole food side of things. So people did want me to do an episode on food and the types of food we should be eating. Now, obviously, I can give very, very, very brief kind of guidelines around that sort of stuff, but I've had a nutritionist on. I've had Nat Exeter, so Nutrition on, and I'm also hopefully going to get my boy Marco Molo Nutrition on, and he is a dietitian in the future so that we can actually talk about proper steps to be able to get through that. But I guess in terms of food and where we go from here, I think the biggest thing that kind of comes with the challenges that people put out there is the whole starving yourself to be able to lose weight. Firstly, why the heck are we trying to lose weight? Ask yourself that. And secondly, I think it's just more around the types of food that we are eating and the types of stigmas that we put around people who are eating different foods. I guess where I come in with the training side of things is that people want to train to burn off X many calories because I had a big weekend or I just ate a donut or something like that. We're already training for the wrong reasons already because we're already saying, I need to punish myself for eating that sort of food. But food is like, when we're talking about communicating with our body, food is what nourishes our body. It nourishes our soul, and it actually kind of facilitates with different social events. And I think we should feed ourselves like we would feed someone we cared about, right? We'd give them all the goods. We wouldn't want them to feel like they are guilty for eating some sort of food. That's what kind of leads to body image issues as well as disordered eating. Like, obviously, there's going to be some sort of give and take depending on what your kind of dietary intakes are or your dietary requirements are. But at the same time, the types of food you are eating, they should be some sort of thinking about, making yourself feel as good as possible. And I'm not saying go out there and eat everything that you want because it makes you feel good, but I'm just saying that we shouldn't really have any sort of negative feelings towards any food that we do try to eat. Eat what you want and feel good about it. But at the same time, that doesn't mean eat all veggies and plain chicken and rice, but it doesn't mean eat all of the other side of things, like donuts and cakes and stuff. You can do either, but what I'm trying to say is communicate with your body. What does your body actually need? What is it going to make it feel like it has been nourished? What is it that's going to feed your soul, but at the same time feed your body and make your heart feel good? So there's a whole gamut, as they would say, of feelings that kind of are involved with that. There are the actual feelings that you have viscerally that kind of come as a response to the different nutrients that you take. But then there are also the euphoria, I guess, those different feelings that you have from actually eating foods that kind of feed those emotions in that time. So obviously I'm not the person to be talking about food and eating and all that sort of stuff, but all I know is that we shouldn't have to eat foods that then make us feel guilty for what we are doing. Or we shouldn't feel guilty for the foods that we eat because we felt like eating them in that moment, all right? That's one small moment of your day, or that's one small moment of your week, and we always have times that we can make up for it in the future. And the reason why I'm using these examples is because all of them feed into nurturing that inner child that you have and making you feel like everything is going to be okay, because we know that everything that we are doing is going to make sure that we can grow, and we can also see that, it's small. If we make a mistake, we can grow from that. And every single communication that we have with our body is going to be something that can make us have that information for the future, right? And our body's always changing. So what works for us now doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work for us in the future. But if we have this familiarity with our own selves, and if we have this communication, this constant communication with ourselves, then we know that this kind of works. And when this happens, I can do that. Oh, that didn't quite work. What if I try that? And we're just constantly evolving with the process. And that's great. So the reason why I bring this up is because during some of the conversations that I've been having, I've started to realize that I'm aiming for contentment. Sometimes I can be happy, sometimes very, very little amounts of times, but some happiness isn't even a sustainable thing to be going for all the time anyway. So I'm aiming for contentment. If I can get that, I'm great. But I don't think there is ever going to come a time in my life where I feel like I'm going to be okay. I always feel like I am walking with, like, maybe I just bought a brand new t-shirt and the tag is still in it and it's rubbing against my back. That's kind of how I feel every single day. Every morning is still really, really hard. Going to sleep is still really, really hard. But the best that I can do is get to a point where I can wake up, and the time that it takes for me to get ready in the morning, like, it's shorter than usual. That's a win for me. And I'm starting to do, I guess, contrary action, or just something that's different from what I think. So when I went to training, for example, I guess why I'm so, like, why I don't train in different ways and I kind of just like always program for myself is because I can rationalize when training is good for you and not good for you. So that's with quotation marks. And that's because, I've studied it and I can see, like, oh yeah, that's not sustainable. And I can say every bad thing about it, but that will kind of just build up more and more barriers for me to be able to do new things because I don't think I want to do it. But the thing is, when I'm going to preseason training, a lot of it is about smashing yourself. And if anyone knows me, the ethos of how I try to train different people is kind of to, like, stimulate people, but not to annihilate them. I'm getting annihilated every single day that I go to training, but it's great. It's brand new. I'm not thinking. It's so outside of everything that I used to do that it's actually giving me a new lens on stuff. I always try to rationalize things so that I can keep things within my control. But like I said before, there is always space where we can learn something new. If we continue to keep saying, like, oh, I'm a critical being, blah, 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 but you're only critical with, like, one monocle, the monocle that you've been wearing since you were 4 years old, you've only got one lens. You've only got one perspective on everything. So I guess that was kind of cool for me, and that kind of started to make me realize that, sheesh, I would laugh at all these different things, and I would kind of rationalize why it was that I wouldn't do them. And I would always say, nah, I wouldn't feel good after that. Oh gosh, nah, that's the worst thing for me. I know my body, blah, 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 blah. But what I'm trying to say is contrary action. So contrary to what you think might be the best thing for you, sometimes you have to just go do it. And another thing with that is, people are starting to text me and being like, hey, what are you doing? I'm near there. Do you want to go do this? Very spontaneous, very out of my comfort zone. I like to be in control of everything. The first thing in my head says, nah, I don't want to do it. I don't have the energy. Oh gosh, I got all this work to do. I will write it out of the park before I even think about saying yes. So what I've been trying to do, and not being like a yes man, not one of those people who just says yes to everything, but just, if I see that this person is worth communicating with, or if I see that this person, just, maybe it's not even that person, maybe it's just some sort of action. If I know that it's going to be something that brings me some sort of energy afterwards, as long as I know that it's not going to drain me, I'm going to go do it. Because I know that it's going to add substance to my life. And I guess on a practical thing that we can take away from this is that I have been, just working with my therapist and just going through different things that I've been doing, to try help me realize that I am adequate and that I am, doing things that people are happy, I should be happy with. And I need to remind myself of that stuff every single day. So, some people can say it and they'll get it and they'll be happy for a little bit. But I need to do it every single day because it's a lot harder for me to see. And I don't know why that is, and I am very, very hard on myself, and I can acknowledge all that sort of stuff, but it's just, I think I'm built a little bit different. I think the parts that came with my box were limited edition or like blueprints, because I just have really hard self-talk, and as much as people, and as much as I as well, say to myself that that's not how you should be, that's ending up, it's like, yeah, duh, I would love to not be like this, but, it's just something that I'm dealing with, and as long as I'm aware of it, and as long as I'm continuing to push through it, we're going to be fine. So we're going to hit the hotline. with a bunch of things that people are doing to make them feel like they are okay. So this is something that I asked on the Facebook group as well as on the Instagram. So what I asked was, what is it that you do or a process that you go through to be able to help yourself feel like you are going to be okay? And this is my final trick, man. This is my final trick of the series, and I'm sorry this one's been all over the place, but I did this series because I needed to help myself. I was in a really dark place. I really felt like I didn't have control over anything, and I actually, I didn't know how much longer I was going to be able to hold this up. So what I did was I designed the series so that I could remind myself of why it is I'm here, of why it is that I do what I do, and I've been asking for your help. So it's funny because a lot of you do come here to be able to help me. A lot of you come here, to help yourselves, to try get something so that you can try apply it to other things. But I've honestly been using your feedback to try help me get through with a lot of things, plus other counsel from actual therapists and other friends. And actually, I was having this conversation with a friend the other day, and I was just saying how, we can reach out to people through text all we want, but if we actually go for walks with each other, or if we actually go see each other, I think the residual effect of actually being in contact with one another is probably one of the best things that could possibly happen. So yeah, thank you so much for all of your input into everything, and I don't care what you take away from this, but just please know I'm super grateful for everything that you give me, and the gratitude that I've had to do every day. Like, I've been doing affirmations, I've been going to see the sunset, I've been just going to feel my toes in the sand and putting my feet in the water, but only for like a split second because that shit cold as fuck. But doing all of that sort of stuff, and it's stuff that when I was a kid or when I was younger or even just like a month ago would have laughed at myself for doing. But it's hard. And the fact that it's hard because I'm telling myself that I don't want to do it probably means that I should do it. So I'm trying to do that every single day, and I don't like telling people that I do it. I just like to go do it because, I'm working on it. It's a process, and I'm enjoying that. But let's see what everyone else has to say. So Merrick says, remember how far you've come and thinking about your family and loved ones, and that's absolutely true. I think being able to look at the processes that you have been through, and retrospect is beautiful. But yeah, I guess being able to see where you have come from and just seeing that, we're still here. And we are a better version, hopefully, if we've been able to look at everything that has happened in the past and, our loved ones that we do it for. And they're like the dandelions, they're the people they're the people who wished on them damn dandelions that are flying out there. They're the ones who want you to win. And if you're there just kind of wasting all their wishes, then, someone's just going to get hay fever for no reason. So thank you, man. Jazz says, sitting in my thoughts and reminding myself it isn't a tough life, just a tough day. And that's bloody good as well. It's a moment. It's a moment in our days that starts to bring us down a little bit. It's almost like if you were, for example, I remember when we used to get told when we would watch gameplay analysis of our rugby, if you knocked the ball on and you drop your head for those split seconds because you're like, oh shit, I knocked the ball on, the gameplay carries on. Everything else goes on, and if you stay wallowing in that mistake that you made, everyone else starts to advance. The opponent starts to advance, and you've let your team down. So not only are you mad at yourself, but everyone else might get mad at you too. But it's. I think we need to stop being so harsh on ourselves, and that's why I talk about being, compassionate towards everything that we're doing. Alana says, have a nap, go to sleep in the morning. Go to sleep, and in the morning, the problem seems a lot smaller. Yeah, sleeping on all those different things. And like I said, I think episodes ago, when I'm angry, I'd look at the fundamental signs first. I tried to look at, am I sleepy? Because if I'm tired, I might get a little bit, I want to throw a tanty. Am I hungry? Maybe I'm hangry. Who knows? So if I can feed those two first, and those are not going away, then maybe I should go for a walk, or maybe, all these things that we've built up on because we've just been exhausted, or all those sorts of things. When we do sleep and we've given ourselves that time to process everything, maybe it might not be as big as it was. So yeah, thank you, Alana. Evan, my parents had it way harder than I ever did and got through it, so I'll be okay in the end. I think even just being able to say I'll be okay, just sitting there, not lying to yourself, but just realizing, if you can take that moment to think about everything that's happened, everything that's happening, and where things need to go, you kind of always are able to draw somewhere on the map that you can get out to. So yeah, I feel that, man. And our parents do a lot for us. And if we didn't have parents, we have surrogate parents, or we have people who cared for us. And a lot of them do want us to do well. And it's like I've kept saying, people want us to win. Unless you're a bad person. But I think we're all good people here, so people want you to win for sure. Maria says, get in the cold water. I tried that for like 5 seconds. But other people swear by it. So yeah, okay, sure, go for it. And I guess at that moment as well, you start to believe that like, this is my only problem right now. This is all I have to focus on. And then that brings us back to the moment. So you're onto something for sure. Izzy says, lying in the sun, going for a walk, hugging my loved ones, and sleeping on making decisions. So true, yes. All of those different things. All of those different things has been resonated, so thank you for that. And I think those are definitely things that I can start to implement a little bit more. Jonica says, the ocean. I love the perspective of being in front of something so massive, and that's something I've talked about a lot on here, is just when you're in nature, when you're in amongst nature, you start to realize that all the little material things that you were worried about are really insignificant. The world out there should be kind of deciding how it is that we should react, which is also, please be safe if you are around that earthquake. But that, these are just reminders from the earth that we don't run the show. Mother Earth does. And everything else that comes with that. So thank you, Jonica. Nick says, sorry, this is a two-parter. When shit gets too much, I usually do any form of exercise to try and release all negativity, or I'll eat some kai that makes me happy, or have a fat moi. See, it's the same thing. You just got to build on the things that we've been dealing with here. So it's just go out, get some exercise, explore nature, do a little bit of that, have a little bit of release, some sort of aggression if you have it built up, move. Or eat, because you might be hangry, or sleep, because you might be like a baby and we're all just big babies, really. All just big babies. Cool. Thank you, Nick, brother. And Cam says music. Absolutely. Music's a really good escape. Tu wharetua. Oh, hawati. Thank you, brother. I breathe in and out while standing outside, then smile with gratitude. And this man actually was one of my mentors as when I was coming through the School of Phys Ed, and he is, I'm pretty sure, Tohunga. I don't want to speak out of tongue, but I'm pretty sure this guy is a spiritual healer. But yeah, sometimes we do need to take that breath just to be able to feel where we are and just remind ourselves that we are just here. And that smile with gratitude, that's still, once again, just being able to take in everywhere that we are and just realizing that we are so blessed and fortunate to have what we have. And that's something that I guess I forget a lot of the time, is that I'm super blessed to be here. And, maybe, yeah. Cool. Tim, surrounding myself with my loved ones, absolutely. Yeah, loved ones. And I guess maybe that's something that I don't do so well, is because I know my loved ones, I don't know how to be honest in front of them. And I don't know, if they will accept me. And I think the more that I try to hide from that and avoid that, I think the further along this will go, where I just continue to be where I am, which is going nowhere fast. So yeah, Paul even says it, family, and Tim even says it, spend time with down to earth people. So yeah, I'm trying to be a bit more social. I'm trying to take that responsibility and be able to hang out with different people, and also, do things for myself, and, reconnect with people who actually probably do care about me, and I should probably listen to them when they say that they care about me. Cool. Ethan says, removing myself from phone and text, switching off, and appreciating the small things. As always, you always have to appreciate those small things, because those are the types of things that will save us. And when we do end up in the forest, or when we do end up being outside in something that, we don't have access to all those little things that we take for granted, then that's when we start to realize, damn, I do take everything for granted. And we just so fortunate to have what we have. And then Britt says showering, or if it's really bad, a long walk in the forest. And Annalise says journaling, getting everything out of your head and onto paper. So I had a lot of people write into this, so I'm just going to check really quickly. Right, we have one here. It says, I've started realizing that sometimes things are beyond your control, so I just ride the wave and remind myself that I got through the last one, and now I've got the skills to get through this one too. Yeah, just all such beautiful things. And I think the key thing that I want everyone to take away from this is that we need to start seeing ourselves as people who want to get through things. Because I really, really want to get through everything that I am getting through. And I know that I can give more to other people if I give myself that grace. I'm sorry that this episode has just been kind of all over the place. And I'm sorry that I've kind of been fired up during this whole episode. I think a lot of this was having to confront a lot of the issues that I've had, trying to connect with other people, and trying to just be okay in general. And that people want me to be okay, and that I've pushed a lot of people away because I haven't been able to nurture that inner child. So that inner child's been screaming for a lot of attention, and I've just been neglecting it. So thank you so much for everyone who wrote in today. And I'm sorry that today's episode was literally everywhere. And what was I talking about? Who knows? And that's the only thing I do know about. And I guess one other thing that I do know is that you've listened this far, and you know that I love you. I really do. You keep me here. You really do keep me here. And I hope there were some gems in this one that you could have taken away. And I hope you know that I appreciate all of you. You really got me to where I am, and you keep me here. Yeah, I'm just extremely fortunate. And I know I've said that 1,000 times, but I just think this is the first time that I've gotten to an end of an episode and just realized I was all over the place. And for you to have given me that time to be able to go through all my different thoughts just means a lot to me. So that's been part 4. Nurturing your inner child. And a lot of this is just to remind you that it's going to be a grind, and we're going to work through it day by day, and we just have to appreciate that things happen, but things get worse if we treat ourselves worse. Things get a little bit better if you're actually quite nice to yourself and you say some nice things to yourself. I've started doing it every single day. I've said a few affirmations. I do feel cringe when I do it, but after it, maybe one day I'll start to believe it. Maybe one day. And that inner child, that one that was neglected, all those years, will start to feel like they don't have to act out as much. So I won't get angry as much. I won't get upset as much. I feel like I'm actually being fed. I feel like I've actually been nurtured. And I actually feel like maybe this life isn't as bad as I thought it was. So anyway, that's been the last series, the last part of the series on being able to get us to where we need to be with our habit formation, as well as just living a better life. So being able to be self-compassionate, being able to do things that actually give you that purpose. And I'm sorry that this one was all over the place, but I hope you got the gist of it, and we're starting to feel like we have the tools, or we are starting to gather those tools, and we're doing this together. So thank you so much for riding along. We will take off with Jenny Mitchell, So Far, the same song that started us off. Next week we will have Artie Savia in the building. But thank you so much for joining me today. It's been a rough one, but I know we're going to make it. Thank you so much. I love you all, family. Take care.
I was born one of 3, 2 baby sisters and me. They're so alike, so unique. I was born one of 3. I've always been taught to dream,
And we can all dream, and we can all make it.
just enough to make my heart crazy.
Crazy with that
But I
drive.
stand on this ground
Yeah.
firmly with 2 feet, thanks to the good souls that surround me. Sometimes the prettiest hearts are concrete, and they'll hurt your soul a lot. Sometimes smokers die young, sometimes they do none. You can feel so lost and know exactly where you are, and that's what I've learned so far.
Alright, you guys take care of yourselves. I love you all, and have the best week ever. Thank you so much.